Hey guys. Um so I had an interesting idea for actually I've got some huge news to share with you guys, music related. Um but I wanted to kind of announce things I'm working on now about my album that I'm working here at home. Um but I originally was going to write an album about really a lot of family members, but I was like, this morning I came across the story, um and I have a friend that also unfortunately didn't have, I mean, this experience was more of um the timing than it was, because she was ready to be a mom and her husband was ready to be a dad. But unfortunately, this morning I usually watch YouTube, after I get all my stuff ready to go for program, and I came across this video of a couple that lives in Dallas. So it started off by the video stating that they were dating off and on, meaning that they were, break up, getting back together, um, but unfortunately, they were a couple that stole a lot of money from a woman. Um, I can't remember, but yeah, they stole a lot of this woman's money. And they obviously used the money to buy drugs. So this was a couple that they were criminals. They were people that needed to be locked up. Um, and and it's one of the many things, I've always sometimes have looked at life, other times not so much, is that what we do makes a huge impact on how we live our life. Like are we gonna throw shit that we done before in the garbage, or are we gonna go back to those things that might lead us to possible more intense, more consequences? And fate, as I talk about, being one of those words of a consequence. Meaning, are you going to wash in your own fate? Um, because when I saw this video, I was unfortunately very hurt from this event that happened. Um, and unfortunately, the two important people that people were mostly worried about did not end up getting seriously. I mean, yes, there was bruising on the mother, but the baby was okay, thankfully. Um, but um, what had happened was, it was, a normal day at the hospital. Um, but the woman that was get so she had just given birth to her little boy at this hospital, but this is the mother of the woman that was with this guy that committed a lot of these felonies, charges. But to clear that up right away, is he served 8 years where she only had to serve 5, meaning she was out of jail, out of prison before he was, before Ness. Because the dad, newbie dad, was named Nestor, but he was gonna be the dad of this little boy. Um, so the what is it, the district attorney from Dallas, so basically the felony service in Dallas allowed Nestor um to visit his wife after she delivered the baby. So it shows him on camera walking into the hospital, but the camera shows where he stops at one of the desks and gets hand sanitizer, but he walks in with a alcoholic drink um and a little mini handgun. Unfortunately, he both had him covered under his sweatshirt. And I noticed kind of like he was starting to like walk funny too as he was walking by the um the desk, but they had a surveillance camera right there to show. um but that's the thing, is things happen pretty quickly. And there was two lives unfortunately taken that day. It was two nurses, um which they honored them, when the video started. This all could have been avoided. It could have all, as I said, I mean, it's either you're there for family, or sometimes people want their fate to happen quicker than others. Unfortunately, yes, they both did their time, but they were still meaning the felon thing was not off their resume, off their court paperwork. They were still active felons, but they, as I said, they served their time, and she got out before Nestor did. And because honestly, it would be understandable, because they were having a baby, you know, and she had to be in the hospital. Um, but and there was a couple officers like already at the scene, but they were talking. Well, actually, one of the officers was talking to somebody in the hallway when it happened. Um, but yeah, they heard the gunshots, and they opened the door, and he started firing from the hospital room. But unfortunately, um this guy was also on house arrest, meaning he would try to screw with his ankle bracelet, meaning that he would try to tear it off his leg. Um, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the felonies he got, was trying to break his ankle monitor for being on house arrest. I will say a lot of people in that case, especially the mother, I feel like should have been smart and walked away from this guy, but it didn't end up like that. And unfortunately, as it said, they were together off and on, meaning that it wasn't, when somebody states that in a video, it means that you're dating them off and on. You're going from maybe being single, but be going back to that person, or you're dating somebody else off and on, off and on. But when people don't refuse to change their life, or really, Um, Unfortunately, he used there was pictures as well that the video shared of when Chester entered the hospital room with, with his girlfriend, with the baby. He had hit her multiple times on the head, bruising her cheek up to her forehead with the handle of the handgun he had with him. So this guy already is not at all making his life any easier, especially since he was taking, his own family hostage. But I wanted to write a song about this because it's important to know basically that what you do in life has a really major impact on your future. It can, um, meaning that it can either hurt you more, or it can actually, you can turn it around and have control over what you do. But this video kind of like entered my heart somehow, and for a good, I mean, not so much a good story, but for everyone out there that struggles with mental health, that struggles with, this guy, unfortunately, I feel like kind of had this planned, meaning that he wouldn't have brought that handgun for nothing. But that's the thing, is they weren't able to see it in surveillance because the holster, because he was holding this side of like his sweatshirt, of his black sweatshirt, meaning that I'm guessing, because he also had the, as I said, the alcoholic drink beverage that was, I don't know if he had drank in it or if it was still full, but it was under his sweatshirt. Um, and of course, the small handgun was in a holster. So it makes sense the surveillance didn't pick it up because he was covering it under his sweatshirt. But that's the thing, is thankfully there was a cop right there, talking to another, what is it, family. But as soon as he heard the, I mean, he had to jump into action, and there was units obviously that were deployed from the Dallas station. So the thing is, they had multiple officers because they were flanking Nestor, meaning that they, if he didn't, as I said, if he wouldn't comply, like, the thing is, things could have turned extremely dangerous very quickly. Meaning that, I don't know for sure if he had the gun. I wouldn't be surprised, but he endangered his family, and not only that, but killed two people that day. And I really want to write a song about this, but it has to do with sometimes in the future realizing what your family the truth of your family. Because, growing up, I would say that boy's going to learn that his dad was going to kill his mom and him possibly. But it shows you, at least, yes, it shows a lot of gruesome. I mean, not a gruesome. The video itself doesn't show any of that, like, gruesome. Although it's very important to, when you feel like that you just can't handle something, or you're trying to get out of something, people are still going to keep their promises in check, or make sure that you can, at the appropriate times, go and see your family. But Nestor was going to keep this, what is this felony path, and it didn't work out at all. So, which his wife obviously probably wanted him there. I mean, since he's the dad, and that the court allowed him to actually go to the hospital and see his newborn son. I mean, I would have been honored. I would have been like, yeah, I can't screw up. I can't make any poor decisions. Because walking in with an alcoholic drink and a weapon and a pistol, a handgun, those are tools that you never ever. I mean, the fact that there's even illegal, obviously, paperwork that says no. That's the thing. If you're a felon, you have to get permission by a court, meaning that Chester or Nestor would have had to have special permission from the judge to visit his wife, his girlfriend and their newborn son. Um, but however, there are sides of stories where it's really the not so much the parents that die alone, but meaning that that the baby that is born, unfortunately, due to a lot of things that could happen, the baby not being able to live. And I have a friend, I mean, I've got two friends, and they're both sisters. Um, but one of them is named Alex. Alex is the sister of Madison, but Madison's also one of my really great friends. Um, Alex is a really great person. Her and her husband, Cameron, I wanted to share their story for many reasons. One being that sometimes, the timing is everything, but the timing also can be fast, and it can destroy your life within seconds, within minutes. But unfortunately, due to their baby's health, um they when their baby was born, they only had 20 minutes with her. But unfortunately, she didn't survive. And parents that only get to, like, see their kids for 20 minutes, it's it takes any good caring husband, to comfort anybody, their wife, their girlfriend, when things happen like that at family. But Alex only got to really love her son for 20 minutes, and so did Cam. It it just it just and that's the thing, is when you're becoming a first time parent, it can be exciting, and there's responsibilities obviously having to be done, and put into action. Um, but I wouldn't be able to probably live with myself if, if that was me, welcoming somebody special in my life. Unfortunately for Nestor, though, going back to that story, he could have pulled his life together, and his baby boy ended up getting out. But Nestor, he was the only. I mean, he screwed up that whole thing. Um, and didn't want to change. I mean, before even all that happened, changing, erasing his name as being a felon, but it would have had. I think it. I mean, sometimes people also grieve over the work that they've created for themselves, but the work would keep piling up, meaning that the more you don't help yourself, the less chances you are to get out of something. But I will not say the mother was guilty in all of this either. She also played a crucial part of it, because they had both served time in I mean, she had 5 years under her belt, and not and the dad only, I mean, had 8. So he had 3 years more, acquired to mom, and I can't remember her name, but and the fact that the video began saying that they were together off and on makes me wonder, like, when you state a couple is like together off and on, it means they were dating at times, and they um yeah. For what?
I'm going to Dollar, whatever.
Dollar General.
Yeah. You want to come in?
Yeah, I'll come.
Okay. Give me like 10 minutes so I'm finished.
All right.
Okay. Whoops.
What?
It smells in here.
Yeah, I don't know. Where's boy?
Right here.
Bye bye.
It smells.
Bye
I
bye.
don't know what the hell that is in here.
Bye bye, boys. Bye boys. Say bye boys. But I will say that it's very important to know what life, is, and to figure it out on your own. Obviously, compromising to yourself and others, I'll do this if you do that, or but also choosing choosing of consequences, or not so much consequences, but choosing, are you going to take a path of rushing into a hospital like that and not solving any part of your life, or are you going to embrace what could, I mean, as I said, if he had just walked in and supported his wife, none of that would have happened as an outcome. Those nurses would have been able to still live to see another day. But I want to write a song about it because it really touched my heart. And the fact that pain has drastic measures on people who, I mean, as I said, this family was definitely, they could have backed out. I mean, both of them could have, especially knowing that they were having a child, they were having a little boy. you know, Dad could have pulled through, cleared up his felony charges, taking that time to do it. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna go to Dollar General with my mom. We're leaving in 10 minutes, but I thought I'd come on here and share. But thank you for watching. Have a great day.